Welcome to Bet on It NFL Week 6. I am Kelly Stewart. We're going to get right into it. So let's bring in Marco D'Angelo and Yanni Corrales. Guys, we got a couple of primetime games this week. We got Tampa Bay at Philadelphia on Thursday night. Got the WagerTalk odds screen open. Only a couple of sevens left if you like the Eagles. Pretty much 6.5 across the board, 52.5. Marco, your thoughts on Thursday Night Football?
Yeah, Kelly, you look at this one and, the initial reaction is, hey, primetime home dog, Philadelphia, want to grab them. I don't know that I got the guts to grab Philadelphia plus the points, especially since we lost that seven, with it sitting at 6.5. When it was seven for the show, I wrote the notes. The only way I was looking was to go with a teaser here and get Tampa just to win the ball game. It's 6.5. You lose a little bit of the value of the teaser, but it still accomplishes the same point. We want to just get the winner here. And I'm going to use the same take that I did a few weeks back with Philadelphia. It comes down to the offense. We know Tampa Bay defense has been suspect this year. The one thing that hasn't been suspect is the rush defense. You cannot run the football against Tampa Bay. Now, what happens a lot of the time, I'll admit, is teams fall behind and abandon the run. But still, even the teams that stayed committed to the run couldn't do it, which means Jalen Hurts is going to have to trade points with Tom Brady. And I'm not ready to see that yet. I don't think they can do it. And as I said before, and it was against Kansas City and Philadelphia, much the same situation. Yes, the defense is going to give up points, but too often the Philadelphia offense is going to settle for a field goal where Tampa's going to finish the deal and get a touchdown and get a little bit of separation. For me, all I can use is Tampa on teasers on Thursday night. That's where I'll be at.
VR, I went to this Bucs game, and albeit they played the Dolphins, but it looks like Tom Brady is headed right into midseason form. This Bucs offense looks great. They have a ton of weapons. I'm not a big fan of laying road chalk here, but that's the only way I can look in this one. Your thoughts on Thursday Night Football?
Well, I'll end the suspense. I bet this game already. I sent this out to my subscribers. We went over in the game. Over 52. Listen, I know it sounds square. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers primetime game going over. But it's just all the metrics, all the data. That's what it shows, that it's going to be hard to keep these two teams below 52 points. I mean, again, we're far enough in the season where you got to start paying attention. And bottom line right now, as good as Tampa has looked and as good as their record may be, they're still, a bottom tier team in points allowed defensively, yards allowed defensively. Teams are able to put up some points. It's just Tampa Bay's been able to outscore them, and that's what they'll have to do here against the Eagles. Let's not forget, except for that game at New England, Tampa's been putting up a lot of points, and I just don't see a defense in Philadelphia, at least so far this season. Nothing in the metrics makes me think they're really going to stop them. They're 21 in the NFL in points per game allowed. So even though if you look at yards per play, it's like, oh, they're top 10, maybe even top 5 in NFL. It doesn't matter that teams are having to work to move down the field. They're getting it done. And not only getting it done, as soon as they get in the red zone, they're scoring. So that's the problem, where you look at some of those overall yardage metrics. Sure, they look impressive on the defensive side of the ball, but nothing predictive does. In fact, final scores, which is what matters, points scored, points allowed, that's how you win football games in every game. They're doing a terrible job. So for me, as square as it sounds, it's over, leave the game alone. And I went over 52, and that's why this total is moving now. It is short money. It's going to be square money as well. I don't see the public going under. So it's going to be the bettors against the books, and the books are going to be cheering in a low-scoring game, that's for sure.
All right, we're moving on to Sunday night. This one's going to be interesting. It looks like Blake Bortles will be starting for the Seattle Seahawks at Marco D'Angelo's Pittsburgh Steelers. The look-ahead line here was 2.5. Now it's up to 5, total 42. There are some 4.5s still out there if you like the Steelers. Marco, first question is Blake Bortles this much of a drop-off? I say no. And 2, were you impressed with your Steelers win last week? Think that they can run it back here?
Well, my Steelers, I'm not impressed with the win last week. Teddy Bridgewater did start the game, but he clearly didn't look like himself. In Kelly, on the quarterback for Seattle, uh, are we 100% sure Blake Bortles? Because I was showing a little Geno Smith too.
I've seen a little bit of both, but I don't think there's much difference between Gino and Blake. But I do think that the Blake Bortles narrative is more interesting because everybody's like, "Oh, Blake Bortles." That's what I keep seeing on Twitter. So that was my assumption. Apologies, I have not seen anything definitive on this Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I just want to put that out there so we don't get everybody yelling at us if it's one or the other. But either way, it's the same scenario for me because I'm going to talk injured player theory. You got Russell Wilson. It doesn't get any bigger than that. And Kelly, we used to do a segment where we talked about the look ahead lines. Well, this is a game where that is very important to go back and look at what the look ahead line was. And a look ahead line in this game prior to Russell Wilson getting hurt would have been Seattle minus 2.5. So, are we really saying that Russell Wilson is worth over a touchdown? Yeah, he's very valuable to this team, obviously the most valuable player to this team, but 7.5 point adjustment against a team that has struggled offensively all year. Last week, the offense for the Steelers finally put some points up. They had a couple big plays. Now, I'll point out one of them was a big throw. Another one was one of those where it was a 10 to 12 yard pass play that ended up going for a big yardage because of broken tackles, missed tackles, whatever you want to call it. So I'm not sold yet on this. Big Ben's banged up. He is taking a ton of hits this year, and it all goes back to that offensive line. The offensive line's still not playing well. What did play well last week is the defense woke up, getting healthier again. TJ Watt's been back. You're getting some of the guys back from the secondary, but they're still not moving the football offensively consistently enough, and it's leaving that defense on the field too long. I think this is too many points. Pete Carroll is a great coach. He'll find a game plan, whichever quarterback he decides to use to exploit Pittsburgh. I'll go ahead and take the points with Seattle. This is one of those ones with the Steelers. They do have a bye week after this. And after the bye week, there is a game that has very much been circled on the Steelers' calendar ever since the playoffs last year. They've got Cleveland in 2 weeks. So I can't lay the points with Pittsburgh. I know that, everybody always calls me a homer, but I'm anything but. I go where the money's at, and my head says the money should be on Seattle here.
It's a really interesting point that Marco makes. VR, you talk about this a lot. Who is X team to be laying X number of points? And that's exactly how I feel about the Steelers this week. Marco nailed it. I told everybody last week I wanted to bet the Steelers. I ended up being able to put them in a teaser because who are the Broncos with an unhealthy Teddy Bridgewater? Now we see the flip side here. Your thoughts on Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, here's the problem I'm having, Kelly. I lived through the Green Bay Packers losing Aaron Rodgers more than once. I lived through the New England Patriots losing Tom Brady more than once. And in all those instances, it was the odds makers and the bookmakers and the market getting it wrong. And those kind of quarterbacks outperforming everything we could possibly think they could do. Here's what I mean. I'll go back a few seasons ago. Aaron Rodgers goes down. The first week they make an adjustment about 4.5 points. What happens? Green Bay goes out there, gets crushed by about 10 points. They move it a little more to 6 points now, the adjustment what Rodgers is worth. Still not enough. 3 weeks later, let's move it to 7, 8 points. Still not enough. There's just some players that are worth more to their teams than what we expect. And that's what I'm afraid is the problem with this Seattle team. I think Russell Wilson is worth more to Seattle than what we're accustomed to. Marco nailed it. There's very few skill position players, no non-quarterback that's worth even more than a field goal to the betting line. No non-quarterback worth definitely more than that. There's a few quarterbacks that are worth a touchdown. I definitely think it's obviously based on the drop off who number 2 is. And in this instance, I'm not too sure it's not more than that. Because when I look at even this season, again, Wilson hasn't been lighting it up. He's a QBR of 61. That's 11th, almost top 10 in the league. Sure, it's not 1 or 2, but still he's right there, top 10. If you're dropping off to Geno Smith or Bortles, that's a huge drop off, even from this season's Russell Wilson. So to me, I just think you're losing so much, and now you're on the road against a team that's pretty desperate in Pittsburgh. It's not like Pittsburgh has games they could just, not show up for. They need this win to be at 500. And we know in the NFL, points rarely matter. That's what scares me. The injured player theory, the market overreaction, the primetime game, I get it. It all points to this line being too high and the value being on Seattle. But I've done this long enough to know that there are outliers in every sport and every market. And I just don't want to get burned by an outlier until I see it. And I need to see that Seattle could operate without Russell Wilson, because it didn't happen last week. Look at the QBR for the backup and look at the performance. If he does that in Pittsburgh, you're not covering that game. Russell Wilson, yeah, he'll cover it. That backup, regardless who it is, if you play like last week with that kind of QBR, you ain't winning. That's what scares me. We may find out that he's worth more than even this. So to me, it's a Pittsburgh or pass until I see otherwise. Like, I need to be convinced that the backup, the drop-off really isn't this high, because everything I see, it says it probably is. So it's a wait-and-see approach, and I don't blame anyone for taking the 5 points with Seattle, because, again, the look ahead, it is a big move when you factor in, even though we're going through 0, I get it, but it has gone through that 3, which matters. So it's a big move, but personally, I think it's warranted. So not to go long, for me, it's Steelers or pass. Sounds square, I know.
Good stuff from Marco and VR. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, it's time for some TNA.
Wow, but in October of sports with the NHL now underway and the NBA tipping off next Tuesday, we want to help you celebrate the opening week, both on the ice and the hardwood. Every NHL daily package is only $9 through Monday, October 18th. And yes, that includes 5% NHL plays, regularly priced at $35. For you NBA fans, we'll be offering the same incredible deal next week when basketball returns. From opening night through Monday, October 25th, get every NBA package for only $9, including all 5% top plays. Plus, don't forget that WagerTalk TV will again be airing both Puck Time and the NBA Tip-Off Show every Monday through Friday.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It is time for some TNA. Let's bring in the guy with the pin, Ralph Michaels. Ralph, right now you have a special up. You have not one, but 2 5% plays over on WagerTalk.com using coupon code RalphMichaels49. So RM49. Can you tell everybody what to expect using that code?
Yep, the coupon code RM49. I'll be posting both the college football and NFL 5% plays by Thursday night. 7-day all access, guys, for the price of 2 5% plays. RM49 saves you $49 off a 7-day all access. $70, 7 days, $7 a day, including 2 5%. It is the best week of the year to try me out for a 7-day all access package.
Now, guys, I know Ralph does a lot of tweeting. He puts up his NFL guides, his college football guides. This man has a guide for basically everything. I know right now he's diligently working on his college basketball guide. That being said, he does see your tweets, even though if he doesn't always respond. So if you have a question you want it answered here on TNA, make sure you tag at CalSportsLV, and we'll try to get some of these questions answered. So I'd like to give a shout out to Clay at Karate Go Blue for his question regarding bye weeks this week.
Well, I love this question. And it was something we were going to talk about anyway because the buys came out, but we appreciate you reaching out and asking on Twitter. Cal, we sort of touched on this in the college football segment, and we talked about what teams do after a bye in college football as well. But inevitably, every write-up you read, every newspaper article, teams always say, this team is rested and ready to play off a bye. They made adjustments. They're going to come out and play well. Well, let's actually just take a look at the numbers. And this really, I believe, will be a myth buster. Check out the bottom chart in red after a bye. I went since 2015, since they moved the extra point lines back, and since 2010. Are you surprised, Kelly, that home favorites after a bye have only covered 48% against the spread since 2010 and only 49% since 2015? And look at home dogs, even worse, 42% since 2010, only 43% since 2015. So both home favorites and home dogs after your bye, when these teams are supposedly healthy and made their adjustments, are both negative betting propositions.
It is really interesting there, Ralph, because to me, looking at the away favorites and the away dogs makes this just a little off, because I feel like everything you read in the media space, it's like exactly what you said. We're well rested, everybody's healthy, our injuries are miraculously healed after a week off. It just seems more like a talking point now looking at the data.
It is. And let's throw that chart up again, guys. And looking, as you said, Kel, away favorites since 2015 are just over 50%. They had a good success from 2010 through 2015. But away dogs, the highest bet since 2015, hitting 59%. And I will say this. You know, there's some NFL players I used to know and people I talk to and media writers. You know, so often in the NBA and in the NFL, when you're at home during your bye week and you're relaxing and you're with your family, and it's not the same as going on the road where it's a business trip, where you don't have your family and the distractions, and you're staying in hotels for a couple days and getting on that plane and traveling out. So again, this is one of the most important points I think we've ever brought up on TNA, because so many people, just like we talked about NFL double-digit favorites last week, Kel, or 2 weeks ago. Oh, you can't play NFL double-digit favorites. Wrong. That's the most profitable thing to bet in the NFL the last 5 years, the last 10 years, the last 15 years. So the same thing with teams after a bye. But more importantly, take a look at the green on all those numbers for NFL teams the week before a bye. Perhaps they're working hard. They know they have off next week. Perhaps they are ready for rest and relaxation and want to play harder to have a positive week because they'll have easier practices, fewer practices. Who knows what the teams and coaches talk about. But before a bye, since 2015, away favorites 60, home favorites 60%, home dogs 62%, away dogs 58%. And take a look since 2010. Every situation in a positive role. So do you want to randomly play every team the week before a bye? Maybe not. But does every team the week before a bye deserve a check mark because of those records for the last 5 and 10 years? That is an absolute yes. So I hope we broke some myths about buys. To me, again, one of the most important things we talked about, and many astute bettors and many new bettors always have a wrong opinion about NFL teams after a bye.
Ralph, maybe towards the end of the week, once everybody's already watched, bet on it, tweet this out, because I think this is, like you said, one of the more important things we've talked about on TNA. But I know you're not even done yet. You've still got a plethora of TNA for week 6 in the NFL.
Well, the one thing I want to mention is last week, there are 4 teams on buys this week: Atlanta, New Orleans, the Jets, and San Francisco. So did those teams have success to match the chart we just had? Well, Atlanta played the New York Jets, so those two cross each other out. New Orleans, they won as an away favorite the week before a bye. And San Francisco did lose. But of course, they only lost by a point with their quarterback getting injured. So clearly that could be an asterisk. Keep a note, those teams that are playing this week that have a bye on deck: Buffalo, Dallas, Jacksonville, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and the LA Chargers. Two things I want to do just to finish this segment, Kel. Someone had reached out to me and asked, what happens when teams score a lot and lose? What happens if teams score very few points and win? So I wanted to break it out. One of them is a number that I'll pay attention to. One is a pretty break-even number. But NFL teams like the Cleveland Browns that scored 36 or more points their last game and lost the game have gone 45, 27, and 1. That's 62.5%. So a very positive situation, a very easy system for you to keep track of. Simply this: you scored 36 points or more in your last game and you lost. Those teams, 62.5%. And if I check one side of the page, I'm always going to check the opposite side. What happens when teams score 17 points or less and win, like Arizona did against San Francisco? Well, it's 49.1%. So the results always don't have one as a positive, one as a negative. This is basically a 50-50 wash. But I will say this: teams that scored 17 points or less and won a game like Arizona, they have gone over the total 57% the last 6 years.
Great stuff from Ralph. One of my favorite segments each and every single week. Why? Because he drops those knowledge bombs. Ralph, before I let you go, can you please give me your survivor pick for NFL Week 6?
Well, Houston looked decent against New England last week, covering and almost winning that game. But let's remember, New England has a rookie quarterback, just like Houston played. And I'm going to fade Houston again. Their statistical numbers, if you check out the WagerTalk NFL logs, I added a stat compare this week, which is a great way to look at those teams and their statistical value. Houston at the bottom of the charts with Miami. I'm going to fade Houston and a survivor pick on the Indianapolis Colts.
Ralph and I seeing eye to eye once again in the survivor spectrum. Marco, can we make it a three-way ticket here?
Like our videos, then subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification button so you'll always be the first to know when there's new content available.
Well, Kelly, I guess I got to make it unanimous. Yeah, I'm on the Indianapolis Colts too. I just pray that they don't come out with a hangover after last Monday night's game in the fashion that they lost it. That one's on Frank Wright, coaching-wise, but this is the perfect team to get yourself right against. The Houston Texans played a big game last week, and before you get too excited about it, as bad as New England played, Houston still found a way to lose that game. And New England was able to come from behind on the road against that team with the offensive line decimated and still got the job done. That's how bad Houston is. Indianapolis gets healthy this week with a win over Houston. Take them in your survivor.
I'm all over it too, brother. You're on the right side with the Indianapolis. Again, I'm not a survivor guy, but it's the one that sticks out. They're home. They're just about a double-digit favorite. Power rating wise, you got to go Indianapolis, Rams, Kansas City, or Pittsburgh. That's the list for me. But again, I'm not a survivor guy. Best of luck to you if you're still alive.
Before we get into the teaser segment, I just wanted to do some breaking news because I made the mistake of saying Blake Bortles, half joking, half not. But the Seahawks did add Danny Etling to their practice squad. They are not expected to sign Blake Bortles as of 56 minutes ago. So let's kick it back to Marco for his teaser of the week.
Oh.
All right, Kelly, this week's teaser, looking at what we had to pick from, not a great week for teasers right now, and they're not all the traditional teasers that we like to do. But we already talked about one half of it, and that was to take Tampa on Thursday night. Teasing them down, I'm just looking to win the game. We gave all of those reasons why. The other one that we're going to talk about, and it's the same situation, I'm looking just to win the game. And that's the Kansas City Chiefs. And before you jump all over me about how bad that defense is, I know how bad that defense is. And they're playing Washington. And Washington was supposed to have a good defense, but Kansas City is ranked 32nd in the league defensively. Points allowed. Do you know who's ranked 31st? The Washington Redskins. That's right, the Washington Redskins. Okay, so two bad defensive teams. Why am I going to take Kansas City on the road? Well, they may be ranked at the bottom defensively together, but they sure as hell are not ranked anywhere remotely close on the offensive side of the football. There's no way Washington and Heineke can trade points with Mahomes in this game. I'm going to go ahead and take Kansas City on a teaser. We did this earlier with them when they were in Philadelphia. I'm going to do the same thing here. They just win the game. Too often, Washington will settle for a field goal. Kansas City will close the deal and get it in the end zone, and that gets a separation. And once Heineke has to throw too often, playing catch-up, that's when bad things happen, even with the Kansas City defense. I'll go ahead and take this one. Take KC and Tampa on the teasers.
So yesterday I tweeted out a few teasers that I liked. And on Monday I said, hey, if you like the Ravens, which I'm very happy to catch that teaser, you could also put it with the Cardinals. Now both Minnesota and the Cardinals and even the Detroit Lions that I gave out yesterday have since moved out of the teaser position. But we now see the Panthers as a 1-point home dog. So VR does not have a traditional Wong teaser this week, but I wanted to ask him a teaser question. So VR, I have the Minnesota Vikings plus 7.5 on two of my teasers. Now that potentially the Panthers could move into that plus 1.5 by kick, do you think it's worth having a double-ended teaser there?
I don't like those, like, same game teasers. I mean, I know, you're hoping that it falls near the number, and NFL historically we know is about 10 points off the close. But I'm not a fan of those, Kelly. I'm not. I don't know the exact math behind it, but to me, I've never done those. I've never been a real fan of those. But here is what I wanted to add real quick. You're releasing a teaser, Marco's releasing a teaser, and you guys are well versed enough and know enough to understand what you're doing. The reason I wrote pass for my teaser this week is because I worry a lot of our viewers may not know what you guys already know. For action, for fun, for entertainment, if you're betting this week and throwing in a teaser, God bless you. I hope you put one in and I hope you win it. Chances are you may. But with all that said, my goal is to teach you how to win betting sports. And for me to urge you to place a teaser this week would be doing the exact opposite. There's no teaser I could possibly tell you about that based on these lines right now that I could say is a positive EV bet. I just can't do it in good conscience. Even if it wins, it's not a good bet. And getting you in the habit of placing bad bets, even if they win, long term, it's going to hurt you. I would rather you be able to look at this board and realize it's unteaserable if you're looking to turn profit, and instead approach it like, you know what, I want to have some action this week. I like this team. They're a 7-point favorite. I just want them to win at home. That's okay if you're having fun. But if you're taking hard-earned money or your bankroll and you're really looking to profit off it and find spots that are ROI, return on investment, teasing this week isn't one of them, at least right now. We know mathematically you have no edge teasing any of these numbers. It doesn't matter. Taking that 3 up, taking that 3 down, taking that 7 up, taking that 7 down, it does nothing for you. You're better off laying 110 at 7 than taking it down to -1 and looking for another team. We already explained that 15 different times. There's videos about it. That's what I want you to become automatic, like breathing. Like, so when you look at the board and you're like, okay, there's no plus EV teaser, but I like these two, like Marco did. Marco knew there's no plus EV teaser. Kelly knew there's no plus EV teaser, but they still threw out a teaser for action. I worry about the viewers who are doing it with their money that they think they're doing it for profit. That's why I said I'm passing this week, so we could explain that. And again, between now and kickoff, a lot of these lines may fall into the spot where they become teaserable. where they offer plus EV spots like Kelly touched on. But where they stand right now, again, I'd be doing you a disservice even if the pick wins. I'd rather you write a loss for me this week than me giving it out and having a bad bet win. Again, that's why I'm doing this. I'm not here to waste my time or your time, and it's not about selling picks. That's the last thing I'm here for, believe me. So best of luck if you did tease this week. If not, hopefully we get some lines opening up before Sunday because they've been killing it this whole season. What, 7-1 last week? Every week it's one. Why change it? If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. We already know where the winner is in crypto Bitcoin, and people are looking for that junk coin that's going to go 1500x. Stop. Trust the math. You know who the winners are. You know what a winning teaser is, and you know what a losing teaser looks like. Stick with winning teasers, and you'll be okay. I don't have one for this week. That's the bottom line, whether you like it or not. I know it ain't me. That's just math. That's not me. Not my role.
Well, hopefully you guys jumped
Kelly-
on those teasers I tweeted yesterday because
Exactly.
they're gone. As VR said,
Exactly.
they are gone. If there is more teasers available, I will put those out because you guys know that is what's keeping me afloat right now in NFL. I did have a nice win on that best bet, but besides that, I've been getting absolutely crushed. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have
Kelly,
a Steam game for
before you
VR.
go-
Oh, sorry, Marco.
Yeah, I just wanted to say clarify one thing that VR was saying. When you asked them about the same game teaser, what you meant in the way VR explained it, I just wanted to clarify. We're not saying betting both sides of that game. They're two separate bets. You already have a bet earlier in the week with Carolina plus the 7.5 on the teaser.
Yeah, so I already have the Vikings plus
you got it the
7.5.
other way. You had Minnesota.
Sorry, but yes, if the Vikings, or excuse me, if Carolina gets to 1.5,
Thank you, Marco.
then I can
Marco,
tease it up to
you nailed
7.5.
Clear it up. Marco
It is
understood exactly
two
how I
totally
looked at it.
separate bets, and they're both plus EV. So the only suggestion that I would make for you is, yes, you do. When that line crosses, especially in a game like this, that's a total of 46, we're talking a lower total, points are at a premium. The old adage that VR says all the time, that the sharps don't bet teams, they bet numbers. That is the classic example. You're doing the plus EV teaser where whoever it is, it doesn't matter if it's the road team or the home team. Once you can get 7.5 on that teaser, it is a profitable play. Now, for me, what I like to do is if I already have team A with somebody else, and now I'm going to bet team B from that game, I try not to hook it with the same universal team, because if it does get blown out, you're killing you're killing a teaser
Makes
with
sense.
one of your ones. Find somebody else to hook that other side of that teaser with, if that makes sense. But yes,
Well,
100% of the time.
Sorry, the
You
good
gotta
news is the
do that.
Lions and the Cardinals are no longer teasable, which kind of makes me a little bit nervous. I always hate that when teams go to 2.5 to 3.5 through that key number. Hopefully those can fall within the number. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to see if the deli's back open, or maybe Marco has a trap game for us. And of course, as always, we've got some of those barking dogs.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in WagerBucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com.
Sign up for the free WagerTalk Text Club to gain access to free plays and exclusive discounts. Just text WagerTalk to 33222 to sign up and get a $10 coupon to use on WagerTalk.com.
Welcome back to Bet On It. Marco gave out a sandwich game in college football this week. Is he going to give out a sandwich game this week in the NFL? Marco, it's the health department. Someone would like a word with you.
Yeah, Kelly, there is a TV station, the news station here in Vegas, that has a segment once a week called Dirty Dining. I think I might end up on the show next week for my deli with this pick. We are going to Motown. We're going to Detroit City. Johnny Detroit, make me proud. Oh, my God. Am I really going to say the Lions? I am. We are. And why not? You talk about a sandwich game, talk about a flat spot. Cincinnati did everything you could possibly do last week, but win the game. Okay. Missed field goals, everything else, anything that you could imagine. That team, couple key turnovers at the wrong part of the field. They should have beat the Green Bay Packers last week, and they did. That was a devastating loss. Do they pick themselves up off the mat and rebound this week? Well, you would think the Lions would be the perfect example. The one thing I will say about the Lions, they do find new ways to lose games. They were leading last week, and again, at the horn, a last-second field goal beats them, just like it happened in the Baltimore game when Justin Tucker hit the NFL-breaking record field goal. This week, they get it done. I will put one asterisk out there for Detroit, and it is a big one, but when you're winless, you can't be looking ahead to anybody. Jared Goff goes to LA next week. That is the only thing that would be a negative in this game. Is he looking ahead to facing his old team and the Lions facing their old quarterback? That's for next week to discuss. If they would have had a win on their card, if they would have won last week, I would feel totally different about this game because I would point that out. When you're winless, you've got to find a spot that you can win. And this is a winnable game. And as far as Cincinnati goes, off of Green Bay is enough. Look at who they got next week. Division rival, Baltimore. This is as big of a sandwich as you can get for Cincinnati, and they're a young team. I don't see them picking themselves up off the Green Bay game in Baltimore on deck. We're going with the scrappy Detroit Lions plus the 3.5. Hold your nose if you have to do it to get to the window. Wear sunglasses, whatever you want. Wear a disguise. You can do it. The beauty of having apps, nobody has to see you making that bet. You can do it at home, sitting on your couch. Take the Detroit Lions plus the points.
Yeah, when this line moved through 3, it made me a little apprehensive, but I do think there's some value here with 3 in the hook. I, on the other hand, have plus 8.5 in my teaser from yesterday. So I will take it because God knows betting the Lions is just enough to make you pull your hair out. VR been crushing it with these Steam games of the week. Who do you have for us this week in the NFL?
I promised some gold, so I'm going to deliver throughout the show for you guys. A couple of the Steam plays already moved, and that's exactly what a Steam play is. It's a betting syndicate or a wise guy particular bettor that buyers and the betting line reflects their wager, and the sportsbook moves it as a way to manage risk, stop other betting syndicates from piggybacking it, and more importantly, attract money on the other side. 2 of those moves that already moved a little significantly, I released the subscribers. We went over 49.5 Dallas, New England. That's over 49.5 Dallas, New England, and over 45.5 Miami, Jacksonville. The reason I haven't used either of those for this week's Steam play is because obviously you're now looking at 51 or so in Dallas and looking at 47 in Miami, Jacksonville. So it's on you how you want to use the
VR,
information.
I'd like to, before you give out your Steam play, I'd like to interrupt you because sometimes I like to put my Joe Public thinking hat on because sometimes it works. You just gave out 2 totals that were steamed. Now, the Joe Public in me says, well, why don't I just tease the 2? Can you explain to our viewers why that is a bad idea?
Yeah, you never want to tease totals. There's just too much variance in scoring. Even in the NFL, where it's not basketball, they're not putting up 200 points per game. The amount of points they put up per game, there's a variance to it. That way, there's just not enough value in the 6 points you're buying on a total. On the point spread, it matters. Again, that's where the points are at a premium. With the total, not so much. That's why there's not those key totals. Again, there's some that matter. And for a long time, 50, 51s, those were important. Now, a higher score in NFL, it's changed a little bit. But because there are not those real key totals that are, you're willing either to pay more for to buy a half a point, or the sportsbooks charge more for to buy a half a point, you're not getting any value by teasing them. In fact, sportsbooks want you to tease totals They want you to tease college football. They want you to tease NBA. They love watching you tease all those sports because even if you think you've won some bets or your cousin's next door neighbor has crushed their bookie making them, I promise you, the bookmakers have turned more profit booking teasers in sports and taking parlays than any other thing being bet in the book. Straight bets, anything else. They make all their money from parlays and bad teaser bets. Steam will stay one that's still available, I believe, and that's Arizona Cleveland under. I gave out under 50. Still the value's there. I think 49 we're looking at right now, or is it still 50? You could grade me wherever you feel good. I'm okay with that. Bottom line is this. Here's why I think this opens a ton of value. You're looking at two really good football teams that the narrative is they're offensive based. I mean, especially the Arizona side. We already know that the offensive juggernaut, Murray, all that good stuff. On the Cleveland side, also coming into this season, remember the narrative, they got to build defense because we know the offense top notch already. You know, they're a top 5 offense. The defense has to catch up. With teams like that coming into the season, you're usually going to get high totals. So I'm not surprised you're not profitable betting these teams over combined. You've lost big. They're 3-3, 6, I think 5-5 combined to the over-under. So the market's done pretty good pricing them, considering they're difficult teams offensively. But it's on the defensive side of the ball where the metrics stick out to me the most. And again, we're pretty far into the season now. And when I look at both Cleveland and both Arizona, these teams just do not give up a lot of points. Even yards per play, you're looking at top 10 teams, top 6 for Arizona, 11 for Cleveland. They're making teams work to move up and down the field. And then when they do, they're not getting in the end zone. I mean, just looking right now, points per game, Arizona, 6th defensively. You wouldn't expect that from a team that's also 4th offensively. Think of Kansas City putting up all those points offensively, all those years, even when they won the Super Bowls. Their defense was not a top 5 defense, but that's what we're looking at in Arizona. And even with Cleveland, top 10. So for me, I think this is the kind of game that sets up nicely. The narrative is offense. I think the total's inflated. That gives us a little line value. It's steam because the betting syndicates are behind it. So let's see if we could cash another one. Under 50, 49, whatever, Arizona, Cleveland.
All right, these totals have been crushing it. You know who else has been crushing it? That's right, college football and NFL barking dogs on Bet On It. Marco, who is your barking dog for this week in the NFL?
Kelly, this week's barking dog might have rabies with everything that's going on here, and I'm staying in Las Vegas. We're going to take the LA Raiders. And Kelly, pure and simple, you look at this, who's going to want any part of the Raiders this week? Okay, they fired Coach Gruden on Monday. The news broke during Monday Night Football. People are going to want to run from the Raiders. And I'm going to treat it like the injured player theory. I think the rest of the team's going to rally around and have a great game. The best thing for them is that they are on the road. You expect to get booed. You're not your local media right here in your face all week asking a bunch of questions. And I think that last week, as we saw the way this played out, the Raiders had a bad game on Sunday. Just out of sync. I think the story started to break on Friday, some of it. And I think the people in the front office and Coach Gruden knew what was coming, and it was a distraction last week. Now it's done. Yeah, it's a little bit of a distraction, but the best thing to do is to get back out on the football field and play. And you've got the Denver Broncos returning home looking to bounce back. And everybody's going to say, hey, this is a perfect opportunity for them to bounce back. I'm not sure. The Raiders played the first 3 games of the season. They played decent football. They got outplayed in the Baltimore game, but they found a way to win. They beat my Pittsburgh Steelers on the road. I know the Steelers have problems offensively, but that was a bad spot for them. They found a way to win. The Miami game, we talked about that when we were all on Miami 3.5 in the hook. And even though the Raiders fell behind by 14 early, found a way to get it done. I think they go to Denver this week, and I think they get an outright win. I'm taking them plus the 3.5, and this is definitely a sprinkle. I'll borrow VR's term and throw the little sprinkle up there. And as you said in the other show, Kelly, everybody's using VR sprinkle. I hope all those royalty checks from everybody sending to him using his sprinkle that he put it in crypto.
Yeah, brother. Every penny, Marco, every penny.
I wish we could have trademarked it. There's a lot of things I wish we could have trademarked back in the day. I tried to trademark Kicking is for Losers, and the government kicked it back, just like they do everything except for whatever. Anyway, that being said, VR, who is your barking dog for this week?
Oh, they're going to love me for this one. And I have one rule. I'm going to state it again. You can't talk shit after the game. You got to bring it before. Don't tell me about my bad pick after it loses. Tell me about my bad pick before they kick off. You lose any privilege after the game. So that's got to be a rule. But there's got to be a code. Even if it's Twitter gambling, we have to have a code. Ladies, gentlemen, we need a code. And you have to at least have that much courage. Have that kind of constitution where you're going to at least have the balls to be like, you know what? I think it's a bad pick. Say it before, man, not after. That's all I ask. Because I'm going with Jacksonville, the winless Jacksonville Jaguars. So, of course, it's a bad pick. The only good thing is I got a team where at least the metrics tell me in Miami that just may be worse. The only reason Miami is favored is not because they're a one-win team. Is because we're giving them an excuse. At least they've had a more difficult strength of schedule, right, than Jacksonville? Yeah, kind of. But their metrics are even worse. So it's not like, they've had the tougher strength of schedule and they played better. No, they played terribly. So who cares that they had the tougher strength of schedule? What did it do to them? Get them beat up? So again, we know Jacksonville's bad, but we found out Miami's just as bad. At least the metrics tell me they're worse. In fact, Jacksonville's like defensively, I'm going to tell you right now, they're 29th defensively in scoring. You know who the only team that's worse? 30th Miami. And whoever's right after them, not many, right? Offensively, scoring, that's what matters. Got to put up points. And again, some of those weighted the yards per play, that kind of, those you got to weigh with strength of schedule. I get it. But at the end of the day, when we're talking ATS margins, it's points allowed, points scored. That's what matters in all games. And what do I see with Jacksonville? Oh, they're terrible. They're 28th in points scored. Okay, how about Miami? Oh, wait, they're 31st. So, like, where's Miami better? Yes, they've had the tougher strength of schedule. They managed to win one game. That's it. But they haven't done anything with that tougher strength of schedule except lose. So I don't see why that's going to change. I see no business this team, which has only been favored one time this season. That was at home, and they lost it, right? Should now be favored on the road against anybody. So again, yes, I'm backing a terrible team in Jacksonville, but I'm not betting Jacksonville. I'm fading the Miami Dolphins is what I'm doing. And Miami has no business laying any points, let alone some key points like we're getting this week with Jacksonville. So give me the Jags. And you already know I got the over in that game as well. So we're going to sprinkle because that means we're going to see some scoring. When there's a variance in scoring, that means there's a lot more live dogginess. Let's get some plus money on Jacksonville to get their first win this week. Share it in.
So, VR, something I wanted you to clarify before we have to see in the comments or on Twitter. On Monday, you gave out as your gold, you said that a team bet Miami, and you kind of casually said, hey, it's because they're trying to get ahead of the number. That was Miami minus 2.5. Now it's Miami minus 3.5. Is this a buyback position, or what is your thoughts here?
That I've worked with these groups long enough now, and that's what's become the science, Kel. Because there's a lot of guys you could find groups that need accounts. The thing is knowing what's going in there and what actually is sharp, and more importantly, what still has value. That took me like a decade to learn to then not just me use it, but be able to share it. And I know working with this group that half of their stuff is getting down on numbers, in predicting which way the market's going to move. They're very good at that in every sport. They're not as good at which again, they're not, the goal isn't to predict outcome, but to predict probability of outcome. They're not as good as doing that as some of the other groups, but they're very good at knowing exactly which way the market's going to go. They're almost always right. I wouldn't say always, but they're like 100% right 90% of the time. That like that. So again, that doesn't scare me. Now, if it was some of the groups that I know win, like aren't just looking for that beat the market, especially when they bet early, it's more information based, then I'd be more worried. But I'm not here. The fact they pushed it through a key number helps me in that spot. And they have the 3 in their pocket. If it closes 3.5 or 4, they're happy. Even if it loses, they're going to place that bet every time. And long term, they're probably going to, profit from it. But I don't think this was anything more than that. And that's why I'm not afraid of it. And that's when I gave it out Monday. It was like that. I didn't give it to subscribers. Like I say, I try to differentiate between what I say is gold, what I bet, what I am confident in, and what I can tell you is steam. These are winning accounts. These lines are moving because of groups that win, but I can't confirm the science behind it, the reasoning behind it, where with some I can, if that makes sense.
All right. Well, I appreciate that clarification. I just wanted to get everything sorted out before somebody had to jump in the comments. Speaking of comments, jump in those comments right now. Tell us our picks suck.
Please
Tell us
do.
you love our picks. Whatever it is, jump in those comments because it helps our algorithm, and that makes Johnny Detroit very happy. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, it's time for Best Bets.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
It's now time for Best Bets, and while I feel a little apprehensive that VR says he's not sold yet on Geno Smith, I'm going to steal a little synopsis from our good friend Mark Lawrence. What do we know about Geno Smith? 9-3-2 against the spread as a dog of 4 or more points in his NFL career. In addition to that, guess what? Pete Carroll 5-0 in his last 5 games as a non-divisional road dog. Now, while I'm not exactly keen on betting Geno Smith, it is going to be a little bit here that we're seeing some overvalue. We're going to say that this Pittsburgh Steelers team is still hurting on defense, and maybe what we saw last week was more of an anomaly, covered with what Marco just said, that being the look-ahead line. Just a tad too many points. As I mentioned, very apprehensive now that this is my best bet. But hey, last Sunday Night Football, I was very apprehensive, and the Bills just went out there and smashed the Kansas City Chiefs. No offense to Marco, but hopefully the injured player theory comes in for me, and Seattle can lose by a field goal. VR, who is your best bet for this week in the NFL?
All right, I'm going to go to that team that I think a lot of viewers think I don't like them for some reason, but I'm a fan. Let's go Chiefs, especially this week. -6.5. There's some 7s out there, but I'm seeing a ton of 6.5. So you better grade me there. At least that's where I released it. So do what you want with it. Listen, I know the narrative is going to be, this looks so square. That's going to be the most teased game. Chiefs just the win in Washington. Yeah, and it should. It's not a good teaser. It's a terrible teaser. You should just lay the 6.5. I'm telling you now, even if they just win by 2, the teaser was still a bad bet. You had more value at -110, -6.5 than getting the teaser. I promise you, the math is right on that. That much I promise you. Whether they win or lose, besides the teaser advice. Bottom line is this. Kansas City's had the most difficult schedule in the NFL to date. Yes, they've disappointed because if they're the best team in the NFL, which coming into the season, they were top at least 1A, 1B with Tampa Bay in most power ratings, at least top 1, 2, or 3. No one had them out of their top 5. Let's put it that way. So For them to be 2-3 is a little disappointing, even though you got to give them a little bit of a pass. They had the toughest schedule, and they're a little negative in turnovers. That's going to regress and progress a little bit. So they could be a little bit unlucky. But more importantly, here's what sticks out for me and why I want to back them in this spot. Because leading into this game is where they were overvalued, where, they got to show up. When they lost at Baltimore, they ended up being a touchdown favorite against the Chargers. They shouldn't have been a touchdown favorite in that spot. And then after losing that game, they go to Philadelphia and luckily that cover and then come back and lose a game that they're supposed to win. They were favored, let's not forget, against Buffalo. Now, the market, I think, has finally not given up on Kansas City, but taken the foot off the gas. The premium's no longer attached. They've covered one game this season, and they have been getting faded in spots. Buffalo was one of the most one-sided wise guy steam moves I've seen all year. It's not as if the books are making a ton of money with the Chiefs losing, so it's okay. They're going to adjust. Again, we've talked about this throughout the years doing this. This is one of those spots. And with Kansas City, we know how legit they are, especially on the offensive side of the ball. The problem's been defensively. But finally, they're now in a spot where that's not going to matter because they're playing a Washington team. And with Washington, at least the narrative was, they got a good front seven. They're going to be good defensively. No, they're not. All right, they had a top 15 strength of schedule, but even yards per play, they're 20th defensively, but worse in points allowed. What matters? They're 31st in the NFL. That's not where you want to be against the Kansas City Chiefs, who put up a lot of points offensively. Even this season at 2-3, they're 5th in NFL in scoring. When you give up as many points as Washington does, the Chiefs offense is not what you want to be facing. Now, on the flip side, I know what you're going to say. Wait, Kansas City's defense is probably worse than Washington. It's the Washington offense that I'm not concerned about. Again, Kansas City had the toughest schedule to date. Weigh the metrics accordingly. So when you see the defensive side, you got to weigh for strength of schedule. The same with Washington. See where I'm going with that? Well, with points allowed, points scored, we know the strength of schedule, and you have one of the best scoring teams in all the NFL against one of the worst scoring points allowed team in football. I think Kansas City's going to have a field day. Sounds square as anything. I laid the 6.5. I'm surprised it's not up to 7.5, but that just tells me it's one of those spots where, again, I think the premium's no longer attached and the value's on Kansas City. And before I go, I know I went long, but I promised you some golf. So here we go. Matchup for the whole tournament, 7-0-2-0, Kopka plus 135 over McIlroy, 7-0-1-3 Spieth, also plus 125 against McIlroy. So fading McIlroy in those two matchups. One final matchup for the whole tournament, Morikawa, 7-0-6 plus 115 against Thomas. And finally, a first round matchup only, 71-48 Gooch. Gooch, that's right, Gooch, plus 140 against Hovland. That's only for the first round. 4 doggies in golf. Even if we split, we make money. Well, let's hope for better than that. Now you got my best bet. We'll see what happens.
Golf went 4-1 last week, so happy to hear golf is back. Don't hate getting those free gold winners from VR. Marco, do you have a free gold play for us?
You know what, Kelly? I've got a best bet. I actually got a bonus best bet for you. You know, given the culture of everything, you have to be careful of what you put on Twitter because it could come back and bite you in the butt. And yesterday, Kelly, you tweeted out something that you said you're not having a drink until your birthday. Well, I know your birthday's in late November, okay? I smashed the under on that. It's like off the board everywhere else. So if you can still find taking the under on whether or not Kelly will not have a drink before her birthday, go ahead and get it. That's my gold for that.
Marco, we're going to be celebrating your birthday in Pittsburgh, and I hate to break it to you, but you're going to have to deal with sober Kelly all weekend. I think the biggest loss there is going to be for our good friend Bobby the bookie. He will be very disappointed Take that over. I'm not drinking until November 26th in Austin, Texas. Book it.
No. Johnny Detroit and Bobby Legs, I've seen you with those two guys. They're bad influences. You ain't making it. There's going to be drinks and there'll be a casino involved. I know it, okay? Pittsburgh does have a casino right next to the stadium. Let's get to the best bet for this week. And one of the most gut-wrenching losses of the season last week was the Cleveland Browns for me. I'm going to let them have a shot at doing me again. I'm going to take them this week against Arizona. Why am I going to take them against the undefeated Arizona Cardinals? Well, the Arizona Cardinals are as fat and sassy as you can possibly be right now. They're sitting at 5-0, but more importantly, they've already played the Rams. They've already played San Francisco. They beat both of those. So that gives them like 2 games up on either one of those in the race for winning the division. Now they got to travel to play Cleveland, a team that's got to be angry with themselves, giving away that game last week. They led virtually the entire game to the spread until the final minute of the game, where they literally picked up the LA Charger running back who was trying to go down, not to score, so they could run out the clock and kick the game-winning field goal. And the only shot Cleveland had was to get the ball back, and they pushed him into the end zone for the touchdown and lose by 5, getting 2.5. This team marched up and down the field. The offense is clicking. The one part of the offense that I love about Cleveland, and it's perfect for this game because it's strength versus weakness. You want to talk about matchups. Arizona has had problems stopping the run this year. The Cleveland Browns run the football well. And when they do run the football well, that's when Baker Mayfield is even better. They are going to attack the Arizona Cardinals on the ground, and that'll set up the passing game with the play action. I know VR's got the under, and if Cleveland is controlling the game on the ground, that's going to help VR's underplay in that game as well. I'm going with the Browns. I am going to lay it. I'll take the number 1 rushing offense, yards per game, and yards per play against that Arizona defense that can't stop the run. Cleveland gets the big win, and we will have no undefeated teams left in the NFL.
Marco, can they just win by like 4? I have the Arizona Cardinals in a teaser. Sorry for being so selfish. Good luck on your best bets this week, guys. We're going to take our last.
That. Sorry, Kel. I love that pick. I promise, just because they're going to say, I promise some NFL on top of it, and then go to that, to the recap, before the recap, because I did promise NFL, and that was one of them, Marco. 268 Cleveland minus 2.5. I love it. 263. They also bet the Bengals. The Bengals minus 3. I gave you Kansas City. I gave you the 3 totals. Monday night. You're gonna have to wait for Monday night for that. And finally, the Houston Astros minus 150. They bet to win the series. And last but not least, it's not too late, but it's almost there. Seriously, don't even spend the money. Don't even buy my package. Take that money and buy Bitcoin this week. Buy some Bitcoin. Buy some Ethereum with it. Seriously, don't buy my package. Don't buy. I love you
Johnny,
that much.
Johnny, you can edit this part out. Don't worry about it.
That money and buy some Bitcoin with it. Buy some Ethereum with it. Time's almost running out.
Great stuff. Guys, we are going to head to our last commercial break, and then when we come back, it's the recap.
Why pay regular price when you can save money on every purchase with WagerBucks at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo? WagerBucks are now eligible for use on not just daily, 3-day, and 7-day passes, but all long-term and seasonal packages up to 1 full year. There are tons of options available for every budget and size of better, from as low as $90 gets $100, all the way up to $3,500 gets you $5,000. Save every day on every pick you buy with WagerBucks. Wow, but in October of sports with the NHL now underway and the NBA tipping off next Tuesday, we want to help you celebrate the opening week, both on the ice and the hardwood. Every NHL daily package is only $9 through Monday, October 18th. And yes, that includes 5% NHL plays, regularly priced at $35. For you NBA fans, we'll be offering the same incredible deal next week when basketball returns. From opening night through Monday, October 25th, get every NBA package for only $9, including all 5% top plays. Plus, don't forget that WagerTalk TV will again be airing both Puck Time and the NBA Tip-Off Show every Monday through Friday.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It's time for the recap. You guys asked me not to ask this segment, but you are going to have to scroll back to find some of that gold from VR. Please make sure you guys are jumping in the comments, hitting that like button, and we will try to provide you with as many winners as humanly possible. Let's start off Thursday night football. Marco has Tampa Bay and some teasers. VR says bet the over, Tampa Bay and Philadelphia. Sunday night football, VR says until he sees otherwise, it's Pittsburgh or pass. Marco and I are both on Seattle. That would also be my best bet. Speaking of passing, VR is going to pass on this week's teaser because there are no long teasers available. But Marco says if you're going to make a pick a teaser, that's right, Tampa Bay on Thursday night down to 1 and Kansas City down to 1. Steam play of the week, Arizona, Cleveland under 49.5. The sandwich game for Marco is Detroit minus 3.5. Even though he may get condemned by the health department, every single one of us has Survivor plays in Indianapolis, the Barking Dogs, Jacksonville Jaguars plus 3.5, Las Vegas plus 3.5. As I mentioned, Seattle is my best bet. The best bet for VR says Kansas City is undervalued at minus 6.5. Marco says the Cleveland Browns minus 3. As always, thank you guys for hanging out with us each and every single Wednesday. Again, please jump in those comments. Hit us up on Twitter. Let us know more of what you want to see, how we can make this show better for you. Again, we love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. From Marco, VR, and myself. Oh, and our good friend Ralph. Until next week, let's bet on it.